Sucio Talk here in Carmel, Aubergine. Chef Justin Cogley. What's going on, my man?
Good, man. How are you?
How you doing? I'm doing good. I'm chilling. Let me just ask you this. Did you come from running a trail this morning?
Yeah, I got just a couple miles this morning. It always helps calm my nerves.
Okay. And are you running daily?
I run 6 days a week.
Okay, 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Did you used to do 7 days and you were like, I can't?
No, I think try to take one day off at least to, as I'm getting older,
Yeah.
just to, it takes longer to recover a little bit.
Okay.
Just something that helps clear my mind and think about the day and
Definitely. How long you been trail running?
It really started, it was all off a bet.
Okay.
I think,
Here, I think let's turn the microphone a little bit down towards you. Right. Yeah. There we go. Okay. I think we're good there. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome. Trail running really helps save, I think, my health.
Mm.
And I know that from what I've heard from other chefs is it started to inspire a lot of other chefs to start working out. I think, I don't remember, maybe 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
It was off a bet. I won an entry into Big Sur Marathon, which is, it was a long way, 26 miles.
Definitely.
And, I wasn't very healthy at all. So I was a little heavier. I just started running at night after work. And then all of a sudden I got super addicted to it. I did one marathon and that was it. It took off from that.
Yeah.
And I just love punishment like a lot of chefs do, I think.
Right.
So,
that's what I was going to ask you. What addicted you to it?
I think just just to be able to travel a long distance and be able to see more places, it was just really addicting to me. And then, since we live in such a beautiful place here, there's a lot of mountains and hills, and I started running up hills, and it was just, you could get away from everyone.
Right.
And for the most part, be unreachable. And sometimes you can run in Big Sur for 15, 20 miles, spend 4 hours out there and not see a single person.
Really?
Which was really interesting to me. And it was healing, and I started losing weight, and, I just found it very addicting. And I started running races all over the world.
Yeah.
And then now, we're quite busy, but still just try to keep fit. And now I have to do it, otherwise I'll freak out.
I heard that. What do you think about during these runs?
No, all kinds of things. I listen to podcasts sometimes. I listen to wine classes. I listen to, hardcore techno or rap, or, I think about dishes. I think about the people I work with. I think about interactions throughout the week. A number of things. It's just a way of like my outlet, I think.
Right. And then you said you raced worldwide. So after this first marathon, you just like, I'm just signing up for marathons all over the world?
No, I mean, I was lucky. I met some really cool people through cooking, through sports. I met some people that, had shoe companies in Colorado, and I cooked for some of their groups. And then I started, I did some cool things with Solomon Sports, and, I ran one of my favorite races. I was on the island of Madeira, right? And it's a 73-mile race across basically the island.
Okay.
Where you start at midnight and you run for hours in the dark and the rain, climb up volcanoes, and it was just
David Goggins. What the?
No, but it was so great. I mean, I did it twice. You know, and you spend literally like 19 hours, climbing up, volcanoes.
Right. That's dope.
It was just so addicting, and see sunrises and sunsets. And then, these races, this was a smaller race, 900 some people start, only like 400 finish.
Right.
And it's just, it's just addicting, I think. So.
Who wins these races?
I mean, there's
like, who's like number one? Is there always like three guys that you're
there's some serious professional runners that the stuff they do is insane. Right. Like, I'm nowhere near that. I love climbing mountains, but there's athletes that can run 100 miles at like a 7:30 pace. I mean, that's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And then how do you train for this? You just going out running, or is it intentional? You do certain mileage every day? Do you work up to the 73 miles?
I just always like to set goals and try to finish them. It was funny, as a chef, and I had some companies that provided equipment and, bars and, nutritional bars, but I'd end up just eating potato chips. You know? I was like,
Just that salt, baby. That's all you really need.
so it was always fun, and that was sort of my joke. It was like, had all these cool high end nutrition bars, but then I'd just get to the aid stations, just pound potato chips and drink some Coke and be good.
The aid stations, how far away are they from each other?
It depends how big the races are. I mean, sometimes it'd be 6 miles apart or 3 miles or some 10 miles. So it was always a goal to get to the next one. But I saw some amazing places. I raced in Spain and France and Madeira Island. I mean, it's just it was wild.
That is wild. So, and then in the racing community, are you like going out for drinks after the race, or is it like?
There was, especially in the big races in France, there's a lot of people that I looked up to in the athlete world.
Right.
But also, athletes love food also, so that's how I met a lot of people also. I've had pro athletes come here and eat. We've had professional bike companies come and stay here. And so it's just another outlet and, just another way of, meeting people and connecting,
Right.
And everyone has these great stories, and just hearing about how they've grown up in their lives and how they've changed. And it's fascinating to me.
The community, baby. I love that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, Chef. Good for you. Well, cool. Well, here on Sucio Talk, we take it all the way back. Okay. So where were you born?
I was born in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Erie, Pennsylvania. Yeah. Wow, you only read about those places. Yeah. What was that like?
I just don't remember a whole lot besides high school. And,
What'd your parents do?
My dad was in medicine. I have one brother who's also in medicine now, and 2 sisters. One of them is also a traveling nurse, and my other sister teaches ice skating, which is something that's also attached to my career.
Right, definitely. I read a little bit about that. We'll get into that for sure. But was that an early childhood thing?
Yes, early childhood. Erie was an interesting place growing up. I don't remember a whole lot, but besides those high school years, and then because I trained with ice skating so much, and that led into a traveling job. I went to high school a couple hours a day. I was wanted to be an athlete. So I took like Mandarin and woodworking and pottery, and just to get through high school, pretty much.
So you always been kind of working out. That's always been an ethos in your life, like. Got you.
Yeah, always working out, and I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to go, but I know I loved cooking.
Okay.
So,
did you think about it as a career, or you're just like, I love cooking at home?
I wanted to be a chef.
You wanted to be a chef
as a young kid, and it wasn't anything to do with my parents. My parents loved Burger King. It wasn't.
Right. You didn't grow up like prepping and cooking around the. No. Got you.
But something about the field, and I had an influential neighbor that had a huge cookbook collection, and it was super inspiring just to know that there was a world outside Erie, Pennsylvania.
Right. That's what I think the common story is, because it's the same for me. Growing up in Connecticut, I'm like, there's got to be something else in this shithole. You know what I mean? Then you're like, read these books of these people in different places, and you're like, oh. So the figure skating, how old were you when you started?
I want to say 10.
10, yeah. Got it. Family thing, or is it just because it's one of the few activities that there is to do up there?
Correct. I mean, both, and there was a rink maybe like 2 miles from our house.
Right.
So, I mean, I wish they would have put me in professional hockey, maybe.
Chef, you're too pretty.
Yeah, thanks.
We don't want you to beat up.
Yeah.
It's okay. So you're ice skating at 10. Do you start taking this seriously at a certain point? Or you're like, we're doing this?
Yes. I started training and then moved up to Jamestown, New York. We'd travel back and forth, for the better coaches up in Jamestown. There was 2 great coaches up there that were professional ice skaters, and then they run a really great academy. Started single skating, and I found out I was better at pair skating.
Okay.
Because a single skater is the amount of technique and talent they have to make it is insane now, especially now. But I started as a pair skater and started skating, and then one year my partner and I did really well at a national competition. We placed second, which was crazy. And then a couple of months later, I got an invitation from U.S. Figure Skating to join the international team. So we went to Bulgaria, for a competition. What? Yeah, it was crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah. And so what is the competition like? Do you have any connection with the competitors, or are you kind of kept away from them?
No, I mean we're kept away, and we especially for me, traveling, my first trip out of the country was to Sofia, Bulgaria.
Right.
I don't even remember when that was, but it was, skating against Russians and Ukrainians, and as a pair team.
Yeah.
And being like the sole U.S. team at this junior level was it was wild, and I was so enthralled with like the food and the culture, and for me skating was like, it was hard.
Right.
I just loved learning about, and that's how I really got more into food, was through skating.
How long did you do that for?
Did that for probably 10 years. And
Okay.
Then I turned, I guess, pro, and
Right.
Which was great, and I joined a traveling ice show.
Okay.
After
What was the show?
It was a part of the Disney Feld Entertainment, Disney on Ice. Did 2 different shows, but basically joined. My first city was San Francisco, which was crazy. The Cow Palace.
Okay. At the Cow Palace. Wow.
And after that, I played like 3 cities, and then we went to Japan for 8 months.
Wow. So that must have been a big food thing for you over there.
It was just, it was to get paid to skate. It's hard to paint the picture because it's not like this anymore, but there was 55 of us, performers,
right.
With no real rules besides show up for, your show. And,
was there practice, or like did you guys...
we had practice quite often, but there was still a lot of free time, especially when everyone wanted to be on those European or Asia tours, because, especially in Southeast Asia, which I spent 2 years in pretty much, you would have so much free time because, the show would go from Bangkok to Singapore. It would take like 3 weeks for it to get all the containers to get to the next country.
Right.
So you'd basically have 3 weeks off.
Oh, dope.
In the craziest places in the world. And, for me, I loved eating out at trying different food, and I was like, they're trying to make me to do more in the show, and I'm like, well, I sort of like learning about food, so they're like, But it was just a great way to travel the world.
Yeah.
I mean, it was insane.
What was your part of the show? Like, what character did you play?
I was a pair skater, so I wasn't like, I skated with a Russian girl.
Okay.
So I was a person.
Okay.
I'm not going to say which one, but it's fine. But the funny joke is like everyone's like, because they, if you've seen Disney on Ice, they have like Goofy and Mickey, and like they have such strict height guidelines for those. Feld, like if you were Goofy, you had to be like 6'2",
Right.
and you had to have a certain level of, and then you made a lot more money. So it was,
Goofy's made more money than Mickey's.
I'm sure. I don't know.
What? You're blowing my mind over here.
No. I mean, because, or whoever played like, the one of the fish, or the flounder or whatever,
Right.
How many skaters, that are 4 or 5, like,
Right.
It's very specific.
Right. Okay. So. Did you find that that you would click by height? Like just
no,
like
I never knew. I just didn't want to be a tree or something, So
Right.
I was very lucky to be a pair skater, and I had a really good pair partner, and we had a great time. So
dope. And then is it just like any other company? Are you guys having like Christmas parties, or like is there like what is the I guess the bureaucratic part of that job? Like, is there an office? Is there HR? Like, what do you know?
There's performance directors. The whole company was we traveled with probably about 100 people. The show was 17 container fulls of props, and in some cities we had to bring our own, they'd make our own ice. Like there was a whole ice team that, if we played like, we were down in Guatemala,
right.
And they put the ice rink in a bull ring, and so it was.
How do they do that?
They just, they just lay it down and freeze it, and there's compressors, and so I mean, we travel with people from all over the world, and it was another outlet, and I still keep in contact. That a lot of the stuff that happened on the show, we don't really want to talk about it.
Right,
it's a little crazy, but sometimes we have people show up from the back of the day, and if they're super intense or flamboyant or whatever, it's just great. Don't tell them what I did.
Right. It's all good. I'm sure there's going to be a documentary 5 years from now, like the tour, or something like that. And so you went from competition to this showmanship. Is there competition within the show that drew you to it, or was it just the logical next step after 10 years of competition?
Honestly, I was going to culinary school somewhere in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And then I was offered this job, and I said I'll hold off on the culinary school. Because it didn't make sense for me to give up traveling the world,
right,
and seeing all these things. And
definitely not. If anything, it made you a better chef.
Yeah, I mean, the time that, further along, maybe 2 or 3 years down the road in the show, I would, instead of going out to the club or whatever, I'd go out to dinner at like Televon, and have amazing meals by myself. And I kept detailed journals of everything. And I still have them all, which is great to look back.
Right.
I drew pictures of all the dishes and, and photographs. And I would go out to eat by myself in these, lunches instead of buying like new leather pants.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's just
leather pants.
when everyone went through the diesel phase.
It's all good. It's all good. We get it. So as you get to the end of your sort of ice skating career, you keep that culinary in the back of your mind. You're like, you have a goal you're going towards. Like,
yeah, absolutely. I travel with books and study in between shows. On a 3-show day, like a Saturday or Sunday, or in major cities, we had a lot of shows. Mm-hmm. I would just read during the breaks.
Okay.
And I just carry around my books. Everyone thought I was crazy, but
just always learning.
Just trying to learn.
Right. And then when you say to yourself, like, this is it, I'm moving on, we're doing the chef thing.
It was basically after 4 years of that. We were on the road for 11 months of the year, so it's to live out of a suitcase for that long.
It's taxing.
Yeah. I don't know. There's still people that I worked with that's still on the show now, which is
really,
it's wild.
Yeah. Do they have families?
Some do travel with families. It's sort of like a circus.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see that. Does it end up being a place, these shows, where the family all works there kind of thing?
I'm sure.
Right.
My sister was on the show for 8 years.
Oh, no way. So you guys worked together?
No, we didn't work together. She was a little younger than I am, but
got it.
She traveled the world like crazy too.
Yeah.
But now she teaches ice skating in Pittsburgh.
Okay. Got it.
So
cool.
But it all makes sense.
Yeah. So when you first when you get out of ice skating, where's the first place you go to start your culinary journey?
Went to Charlie Trotter's.
Charlie Trotter's.
I did like a stage.
Right.
I was going to culinary school in Portland, Oregon. Mm-hmm. I flew home from wherever I was flying home from, and stopped over in Chicago for 3 days. And I just wanted to get into the kitchen, And I had a stage with them, and walked in that kitchen, and it was like Giuseppe Tentori and Bill Kim and Marcus Glocker, and there's John Shields. Like there's so many legends that were working there at the time. Delagasso was pastry chef. I mean, it was wild.
Right.
And I was hooked from the first minute I was there, honestly.
What'd they have you do on your stage?
I shucked a lot of peas,
Okay.
Shucked peas, cleaned pots.
Oh, you dishwashed on your stage.
No, I mean, we polished the copper pots every night there.
That's a proper stage for me. I'm like, see, if he's too prideful and can't do dishes, then we don't want him.
That was part of the thing at Trotters. If you couldn't mop the floor,
why learn how to cook?
Yeah.
And mop, It's the first lesson in cooking is mopping the floor.
No, but I was hooked, and I had a great time. And I knew I wanted to work there from the second I worked. It was just really intense, and we were there so many hours, and it just seemed perfectly normal.
Yeah, you get to know each other really well. What was John Shields like as a cook?
It was awesome.
Yeah. What was the hierarchy of stations there like?
I think so. After I went to culinary school, year and a half, Portland, Oregon. I knew first. I was accepted back as an intern at Trotters. They were all there when I got back, of course.
Okay.
John was on the hotline. It was like the fish station cook.
Right.
There's so many great talented people there. It was just awesome, and everyone showed up so early every day.
Right.
And I was hooked. I was brainwashed. I just loved it.
Right. What was Chef Charlie like?
He's a very intense individual. Absolutely.
Right.
There was a certain level of fear when he walked in, or a certain level of like detail that, he always expected. And I ended up spending 4 years at Trotters and ended up traveling a lot with him for events.
Right.
But yeah, it was like, graduate school of the culinary school, if that makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And
Super
the fact
intense,
that
yeah.
you went in after culinary school and got the job and like made it,
Yeah.
like that means a lot, you know? Because I know I came out of culinary school and I'm like, you can't just go to the best restaurant. You got to like cut your teeth at the steakhouse or like whatever, you know? So you spend your 5 years there. Are you a single man during this time? Or are you just like focused on work, or do you got a family or?
No, I mean, I was married.
Okay.
But we spent, literally we would show up at 10 or 11, or 9 sometimes and stay till 2. That was perfectly normal. I thought it was perfectly normal. Everyone did.
Right.
It was
Shift pay?
probably leave that part out with all that.
It's all good. Well, you know what, Chef? It's part of the history.
Yeah. No,
You
I
know?
mean, you know what? We worked a lot. If you divided my pay times hours worked, it was probably like 14 cents.
Right.
But there's, I worked a lot with Conrad Reddick, and Matthias Merges was a legend, and he still is a legend.
Yeah.
The group of us would have done anything for Chef Matt. Like, it was just like he ran the ship there. He was a great teacher, leader, and there was just a group of us. So when we started, there was about 20 of us. And then we, and Chef Trotter was, the story I always tell. There's 2 stories that are really famous. Is one Saturday night. We do 90 by 90.
Yeah.
So we do, it was a big push, and we were doing big fires, and it was just wild there. And he pulled me off I was an expediter there, and he pulled me off the pass and pulled Matthias, and we went into the small bathroom in the studio kitchen. And there's 3 of us standing in this one, single bathroom in the studio kitchen Saturday night, tickets everywhere. And, we're like standing face to face, super weird. He's like, what do you notice that's wrong in here? He's like, and I'm like, I don't know, Chef. I don't know. But there was like some caulking missing from the side of the sink. He's like, how can you run a place like this, and let these things slide?
Right.
And it was like, and he did that a lot. He's like, well, I'll be nice and I'll give you 24 hours to get it fixed. And, it made you think about how much more there was to just cooking. And
Definitely.
and it happened a lot. And the other there's so many stories, but we used to use Fiji water for everything, right?
Right.
Purees.
No way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Everything. That was like the water we used for,
No fucking
just
way.
because, I'm sure he had some sort of special with it, but
Right.
For Fiji water guy pulls up in the front of the restaurant blasting like rap music, right? And unloads like 180 cases, of Fiji water into the wine cellar, which was around the back. And Chef Trotter came to me and Conrad. He's like, make sure he reloads everything, and never comes back here, because he was blasting the music in my parking space. And we basically had to tell the guy to
reload
all the stuff, and
he did it.
Yeah, they did it.
Damn.
Yeah, there's also times where we'd be like squeegeeing the street in the rain.
Right.
Like it was pouring down rain, and we'd be out like squeegeeing the city road because no one wanted to get their feet wet.
Right. And that's hospitality, baby. That's what you do.
But it was great, and I can't say enough good things about it. It was definitely an intense 4 years.
Right. When you're getting to the end of that 4 years, what made you kind of look out the horizon and be like, I think it's time to go?
It was a culmination of different things. Just I think you get beat down.
Definitely.
Towards the end of it, I sort of got into drinking a lot. And I was pretty heavy. I was like 205, I think. So it was just a very intense work environment. But I made it out of there.
Right. And then once you notice this, where do you go? Do you start staging around? Do you kind of know where you want to go?
I took a job opening a hotel that he was supposed to be a part of, and then he backed out.
Okay.
It was called the Elysian.
Okay.
Down on 11 East Walton, which now I think is owned by a different company, but Waldorf Astoria, I think. But it was an amazing property. And they really wanted to have a food focused program. I think it was 77 room, or I can't remember how many rooms, but it's a beautiful hotel still. And there was 2 restaurants, and they're assembling a team, and it was exciting. A lot of cool things for the rooms, and
Yeah.
But it also opened in like 2009, which wasn't a great year. And
Definitely not.
so that's a hard. So that's when I found this place. I was starting to look to move from Chicago. I lived near Wrigley Field, and which was really cool at first. But then every time that everyone's just hammered and they're coming home and pounding on the walls, and I just wanted to move out of the city.
A lot of noise. You want to quiet it down.
Quiet it down, yeah.
Right. So how'd you find this place? Back in those days. Yeah.
I saw there was an open. I interviewed at a couple of places out in Colorado, and this place popped up that they were looking for a chef. And I looked on the map. I had no idea where Carmel was. I'm like, wow, it's next to the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So
that definitely drew you in.
Yeah, flew out here, did a tasting, and then I had an offer the next day.
Okay.
It's pretty cool.
Okay, and you came in as exec chef.
I came in as CDC. There was no chef. So,
okay, there was no chef yet.
There's no chef, and there was just 4 of us at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there was I just saw a lot of potential, I think, in the property.
How old were you at the time?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I love that. So you come here, start this new project. Like, what's going through your head? Are you like coming in here Charlie Trotter style and working the 13 hours a day? Are you?
We definitely worked a lot in the beginning because there was only 4 of us, and
right.
There was a lot of things that we changed. I changed right away, over a process. It was basically an a la carte menu, and then eventually we went to, a 4-course menu, and
right.
And try to start. It was 9 or. At the time, it was 12 tables, so it made sense to do, financially made sense to do tasting menu only, not a la carte, because
definitely
it's very small.
Yeah, can't have all this stress and then fucking they come in and spend $20.
No,
like nah, man.
Yeah.
It's either the 150 or nothing.
That's right.
You hear me? That's funny.
So no, I mean, in a lot of it's just like anywhere, a lot of people that used to come here, had their opinions of the new food and. We started using seaweed and, of course, because we're on the ocean.
Right.
And they're like, no, that's Asian fusion and it's weird. And I'm like, what do you mean?
We're right here. Yeah.
And, and it was great. It was hard. And first couple of years, I don't count the first 2 years because it really took 2 years to really sort of go down the direction that I wanted to go down.
Definitely.
And then I had one of the guys I worked with at Trotters come out here, Aaron Kasiba, and we started really, making changes. And then 2013 and won Food and Wine Best New Chef, which was super cool.
Okay.
And then it just took up from there.
Were you expecting that?
No.
That year? Okay. How did the community of chefs here I guess you're not in the Bay technically, but like.
No. And that was a hard thing. I think it was at that time. It was really hard to get noticed in Carmel. I think was
okay.
But it didn't. That was more of a, someone that had very specific goals. It was when someone tells you they'll never get noticed here, that was really like a red light for me. It was like, now I need to prove them wrong.
That you can be noticed, right?
Absolutely.
And then when you got noticed, what did all the haters say?
Well,
nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So no, I mean it was great. And then we did some events with some great chefs and just started bringing people in, and it was great. The time where, a time where social media wasn't quite started yet. I mean, we're talking about 13 years ago. It was just, I don't even know when Instagram started, but the only way to get word out, is we followed food bloggers,
right?
And that's how I met Bonjoing.
Okay.
And like old school guys like Chuck Eats, those guys that started in the city food stores, and those people that had these food blogs, that was the only real way to see what other people were doing at that time.
Right.
I
think they were the first ones to shout out people that didn't have the media machine behind them.
Exactly.
Like he was, Bonjoing is instrumental in a lot of that for fucking Meadowood and like Jeremy Fox. He was like one of the first people to like capture all of that. So definitely shout out to him.
Yeah, he came here, after months of convincing, honestly, and to do some pictures, and it was great. We all looked up to his blog back in Chicago days because that was the only way to see food.
Right.
And I tell him this sometimes, and I'm sure he knew, but it was just for all of us. It was such an instrumental part of our careers to see what other people were doing.
Right.
And he was the only one really, and it was like he was a mystery, and but yeah, we're still friends. We talk all the time, and we did an event here in 2013, and we have a bunch of great chefs here, and that's when this place started to get noticed as he took his pictures, and it was awesome, and it sort of just took off from there. Because it's so beautiful here. I mean, it's just,
it really is.
And a lot of people, if they don't,
this is like the Aspen of California.
Yeah. It's rugged, and it looks like Jurassic Park.
Right.
Point Lobos is one of my favorite places to run to. I mean, it literally looks like Jurassic Park. I'm pretty sure it is.
You think that's where they filmed it?
No.
Do we know that? Do we know where they filmed it?
Well, there's like fossils and giant craters, and the way that the Earth moves, and they said that it came from Mexico. I was like, I can't even comprehend how
right.
how that moved.
How it moved this way.
And I'm like, well, there's definitely alien. There's like these craters up on these rocks that look like, like little bathtubs. It's like, you think things fall from the sky? I don't know. Maybe, who knows?
Right.
But
I think, the history of the world is always funny when it comes to like why things are the way they are. And if you look at California, a lot of the mountains have what seems to me like a lot of sea plants growing on the side of them. And I'm like, definitely shows you that the water was we were just underwater. Everything here in California was, at a certain point. I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy to see. And, that's why I love running too, because I can go up in the hills and mountains, and you find fossils and arrowheads, and, it's like.
That's crazy.
And, it's wild, and. But yeah, there's so much great sea life here. I remember the first time we had John Shields out here, and the sorrel's out everywhere, and he's like, "What's that yellow plant?"
Right.
Like it's a sorrel, and he's like, it's just a joke, It's
right.
just, and it's just everywhere. I mean, in Chicago, we used to have to FedEx everything, and it was.
Shout out to him for not just moving out here.
Yeah.
Because that's all. I feel like a lot of chefs did that. I did that. I just knew, California is where everything comes from, right? You might as well go to the source, of where everything's grown, at least. Cool. So 2013 Best New Chef. How did that affect staffing? Did you have a surge of cooks that wanted to come to you now?
No, I mean, we definitely started having more interest in working here. Like I said, at that time, there was only 4 of us. We were open 7 days a week. There was a couple in the front of the house, and eventually we worked through all those old people that used to work here because some of their, ideas of how they performed just wasn't fit for what we wanted to achieve.
Right.
And now, fast forward, and now, I mean, we have 14 in the kitchen, and 8 in front of the house, and it's a totally different ballgame here, and we've almost overgrown this space, honestly.
Okay.
It's a machine now, and we have a lot of talented people that work here, and a lot of people that work really hard for the goal here, and to keep moving up, and we've always served great product, I think, and we've made improvements, and it took a long time for me to figure out what an experience would look like, because we had started with really not a lot. We didn't really have any plates or glassware, or,
right.
just cooking equipment when I started here. There just wasn't a lot, and slowly over the years we've built it up. And so that's what also that I'm proud of, the team's proud of, because a lot of new places now, they can open and they can have everything they want right now.
Right.
And they're just,
you don't have to struggle through it, especially in the cities.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like there's a starter kit.
Yeah.
Get your Thomas plates. You know what I'm saying? It's like everybody just does the same thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like when the fast casual surge came, everybody just started taking that cookie cutter approach. And I think it all goes hand in hand with the times, because now there's a lot of designers, there's a lot of restaurant people that just open restaurants, right? So after a while, it's sort of all going to be the same, is it not?
Yeah.
You know, if you just have only like 3 car dealerships making all the restaurant, you know, just using those terms. How did you start sourcing your first plates that you were proud of?
I think the first plates, you know, we were trying to get something locally made. You know, we had one lady that the first artist that we approached made impressions from Point Lobos. Basically, took clay and put it on whale bones and the trees and made these first charger plates. You know, because you know everyone had the Guy de Gran and the JL Croquet, you know, plates and the white plates, and then you know, it was like, is that the direction we want to do? You know, we're right near a rugged coast. It should be more oceany feel. Mm-hmm. You know, and the pastry chef at the time, Ron Mendoza, was a very talented individual, and he helped source the first artist out. We met her, and she made some really cool stuff. And then she disappeared into the desert. So,
You've never seen her again?
No.
Hey, there you go.
But
History,
she made some great
baby.
stuff. And then in 2015, I think, another artist came in here. She was in the Bay Area. Her brother lives here, and her name is Nicole Pilar. And now we've worked with her since then, and she's made every plate that we have.
Okay.
Up until now. So, so everything's been pretty much handmade by her. So the whole experience is on plates, and some of them are really rugged. You can use both sides. I mean, they're great. And I know a lot of other restaurants, and we've had a lot of guests like buy her work.
Really?
You know, and she makes really great vases and lanterns. You know, all kinds of crazy stuff. But so that was just one of the small parts. You know, it took since 2016 till basically last year to have the whole experience made by her. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's all plates that are rocky and look like the coastline. Mm-hmm.
Do you find yourself having to do a seafood-based menu because you're so close to the coast?
Well, it's interesting you said that. A couple years ago, way back in the 4-course days, where you're doing 4 courses with 3 options, and you know that was part of the progression.
Supplement, baby.
When we went through a time where we actually did all seafood, you know, and I had a chef in San Diego reach out to me. He's like, "Well, why?" You know, and I was just, it's a good question.
Yeah.
You know, and
sometimes you got to ask yourself that. Why?
Well, I just thought that, being in a coastal town that made sense, you know, and then, there was people that still want meat, and I think we're one of the few restaurants now that still catered. I mean, there are few, I think, that do all the restrictions. Mm-hmm. You know, like we have a meeting every day at 3:30 and go through all the restrictions for the night, and then base the menu based off people's dietary restrictions. Mm-hmm. And change everything. If we still do vegan, vegetarian. We do our best to accommodate everyone.
Right.
Of course, sometimes you can't make everyone happy, which is how it is.
True.
But we do try.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I was talking about.
No, it's all good. We were talking about seafood.
Seafood menu.
Because you're next to the ocean. You know?
And then, through one of our Japanese friends, we started selling Japanese Wagyu, and we sell crazy amounts of it still. It's like a supplement to add on the menu, and something we've done the same process here for 13 years now, and something I learned at Trotter's was the triple sear, and it's just great. And, we have people that request it, and if we don't have it on the menu, then people can be upset. Imagine traveling here from Europe and you've read about this beef, or you saw a picture of the beef.
And it's not here.
It's not here. So we've always had it on the menu, pretty much. That and abalone. Mm-hmm. Abalone, because it's just farm raised 5 miles from here. So we've pretty much, there hasn't been a day that I've worked here that we haven't had it.
Mm-hmm. How do you prepare your abalone? Are you pounding it 500 times?
No, it's funny because I still have chefs that reach out, that have abalone at other restaurants, and they said that, can you send me a video of how you do it? And it's great, and it's very, really famous chefs too, which is also always,
it's very humbling.
Yeah. And that's what's great is I'll reach out to someone and say, well, how do you do that? Like, it's not like I'm, know everything. Of course not, and that's the best way, I think. And, the abalone, we had, it gets pounded like 27 times a side. 27 is a magic number for some reason.
Okay.
and then it still gets cooked in its own juice for about 30 minutes, like
Okay.
on all the shucking juices. And we've prepared it the same way for the last 13 years.
Really? Do you ever find yourself wanting to change it, but you're like, no, I'm just fussing with it too much?
No, I mean, we've done different methods. We used to steam it in sake for 8 hours or pound it. And we went to Japan and did a research trip, and we did, they pound it, let it rest in the walk-in for 2 days. And, nothing ever came out the same as the same way.
Right.
So it is very tender, and it's something that we pride ourselves on. And, we've had it on the menu since then.
Mm-hmm. And so you do your beef here. What's the clientele here like? Are they out of town, or you got your local crowd?
We do have a special occasion restaurant,
right.
which is fine.
Definitely.
At first, that was the goal, not to be one, but now it's like, why? Well, thank God we are.
Right.
Because people always have birthdays and anniversaries and milestones to celebrate. And I think if we weren't, maybe business wouldn't be so good. We used to have a lot from San Francisco, Palo Alto, Europe, because of Michelin. It was a huge changer in 2019. Mm-hmm. But now there's a lot more guests driving up from LA, which is great. And before COVID, there wasn't a lot of guests from LA for some reason. I don't know.
Really?
But now it's a lot more younger people traveling up and enjoying the coast. So that's one big change I've noticed.
Yeah. I will say, I think you're right about that. When I first got here, people that lived in St. Helena would be like, we're not going down to Napa. That's 30 minutes away. I grew up in Connecticut. Like, you drive an hour is fine.
Yeah.
And so now I feel like that has kind of erased, and people are willing to go out of their way to go find something.
Yeah.
And you're like in that magical place where it's like probably 4 hours to get here from LA, so it's like the break before San Francisco.
Yeah, exactly.
I
mean, it makes sense. It's especially if you can drive the coast. Right now, it's still closed because of landslides, but I mean, it's so beautiful down in Big Sur, and it's just crazy beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. Do you would you want to have another restaurant outside of this place, or a coffee spot, or anything like that? Anything else that you think of?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And what is that? Is it a bar? Is it a coffee place? Like, what else interests you other than food in this world?
I think so. Another one thing that we started here 5 years ago is a culinary research trip.
Okay.
So the cooks here spend a lot of time here, right? Everyone spends a lot of time. We give up holidays, weekends, and birthdays, anniversaries, etc. And a couple years ago, I thought it'd be really cool to. In January, we always close for 2 weeks or so, or 2.5 weeks, just as a mental break. And January is already usually a slower season in Carmel.
Yeah.
We started doing this culinary trip where everyone that worked here for 2 years would have an option to travel with us somewhere. And now that we have such a huge team, we might have to relook at it. But the first one, we went to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And, I'd say it was Alex's first flight, right?
Right.
So, as a young kid growing up in this area, to travel to Hong Kong on his first plane ride that was 16 hours, it was I'm sure a life-changing,
Definitely.
thing. And I set up restaurants all in Hong Kong. Met some 3-stars, some noodle places, 1 3-star, and then just basically some street food. And it was such an eye-opening experience, I think, for everyone. I must say that. So we've gone to Hong Kong. We took a team to Japan. We were going to Spain, and then the resurgence of COVID happened. And,
okay, gotcha.
We started falling off, and it was just down to like myself and the pastry chef, and I'm like, I can't go.
Right.
Like, if we get stuck there for 3 weeks,
yeah, you're screwed.
So that got canceled. And then this year we went to Peru, and it was probably one of the best ones because it was so eye-opening down there. Lima was just such a different level of like food service. What they're doing down there was amazing, and then the bars. So there was a lot of great bars down there that had a lot of great ideas. So it always makes you think, like, could we do a fun little bar, that's, there was little places, reservation only, like, it was just so cool.
Right.
Speakeasies and a lot of great ideas.
There's definitely a lot of American influence trickling down to South America. You're seeing a lot of, like in Mexico, there's a resurgence of like there's tiki bars are everywhere now, you know, and natural wine bars, right? You can throw a rock now. I used to like three natural wine bars. So it's pretty crazy. I love that. The culture of South America I'm seeing is like, it's unwavering in its hospitality.
Yeah.
Like they don't give a shit what's happening outside. They're just like, it is what it is. We're giving you our best anyway. And that's like here in the United States, sometimes you only find that in the better restaurants, right? Sure. And so it's kind of a crazy thing to see. But shout out to you for bringing out your team like that, man. Not a lot of people do that.
No, I was, and you know, we went to Mexico City too before this year, but there was 9 of us that went to Lima, you know, and sure it was 5 days or whatever, but it's like, and you spend one day flying, but 3 days of serious eating and inspiration, and it was really cool. And I know that, you know, I hope to continue it, you know, as long as possible, you know, and you know, there's the chef community down there or in Mexico or Hong Kong or Japan has always been so supportive and help with reservations, help setting things up, and go out of their way to like make these experiences so special.
Definitely.
You know, and
definitely. I think we all as chefs can see ourselves as a younger cook and always think of ourselves that way. Yeah. Because we're playing, right? Like everything is play. It's not always, right? But you try to think of it that way. You know, let me play with this. Let's do this. Let's have fun with this, right? And I think when you can kind of escape with your team, they see a different side of you. You know, they see what chefs like after a few cocktails. You know what I mean? Like it's not. You don't see it all the time, and it's like I question this because the industry used to be that you finished early and you got done cleaning as quick as you could to go get a beer. Yeah. Right? No. Now that's not the case. People are much more conscious about their intake of alcohol. Sure. They'd rather get the sleep, right? But I have had some of the best conversations over beers after work than I have while being at work. Yeah. You know? And so I feel like that bit of the pirate ship mentality is going away. Yeah. I think we should some of it should stay. Yeah. You know, and I'm not saying you got to go out and get hammered every night, but like, you know, having a goal to aspire to go have a drink with your friends after work or have a hang out with them. I mean, that's where some of the best dish ideas come out. No, and you know,
it's funny. In Mexico City, you know, it was an amazing place with great restaurants. I mean, it was you know, vibrant. Yeah. It was, and you know, we had these big reservations at some of the big places, and you know, I told everyone like tonight, you know, you just go to bed, you know, like, you know, you never go hard on the first day. Like never, there's 4. We were there for 5 days. I'm like, there's plenty of time, you know, and sure enough, like I you know, wake up at whatever 5 a.m. or something, and I look on my phone, and there's like these stories of some of the cooks that are like, you know, at the discotheque. It's like, sorry, chef, you know, they wrote on the story.
That's so funny.
I'm like, God
damn it.
Listen, one time.
Right.
But no, everyone, you know, had a good, you know, but I think Central and you know, was an eye-opening experience for a lot of people, and what they've built down there, and then you know, the team was so great. And
how was the food? How would you describe the food at Central?
It was just so interesting to me. You know, I you know, it was, of course, the plateware was amazing too, but there was just like an extra amount of love that they put in. You know, because there's just so many unique ingredients there. Right.
It's very colorful cuisine.
Yeah, and the chef cooked for us all, you know, and it was amazing. Right. And there's just, you know, every part of it was great. The whole space is amazing, but it wasn't like he had a lot of hardship too with moving the restaurant from one neighborhood to another, and you know, there's a whole story about that. But now they're in a really great place, and it's a beautiful spot, and they have it locked in.
Is it off the beaten path, or is it like in a hotel? Like, where is?
No, it's I'm pronouncing it as in Bronco.
Okay.
You know, and basically it's like this big gray building with a wall around it, and there was like security guards out front.
Oh, no way.
Like, you know, then you go through the door and it's just like all the plants, and there was fish hanging and smoking, and it was just, you know, there's all the projects out there, all the ferments and everything, and you go inside and, you know, they have the 2 restaurants inside there, and then they have, you know, they have all their chocolate work, and there's a distillery, and it's just a crazy place.
Wow.
It was so inspiring. I'm like, this is amazing, you know. And then you could have that meal, and then we could also have street food for like $2, you know. So that was delicious, you know. And then from there, the team went home. I actually went down to Santiago because I always wanted to go to Brago, and I met Rodolfo at the French Laundry with Bonjoing,
right?
You know, and another amazing experience, you know. And his food is very unique, and the whole dinner was great. And it was just another place where, you know, he's had struggles, and, you know, but now, you know, it's great to see a packed restaurant, you know, doing the food that he wants to do, and it was very inspiring about, you know, his product and where he gets it, and it's a wild man.
Heard that.
Yeah.
How would you describe Peruvian cuisine? Like what?
You know, it was just very unique. I think, you know, there's some spice. You know, the seafood was pristine, and of course with all the mountain, you know, like stuff growing at elevation. You know, what I love about Peru is because, which I didn't go to do this time, I'm definitely going to go back, is go to Machu Picchu or go up to Cusco, and you know, it's at 8,000 feet. Cusco is. I mean, and then the product up there is like, you know, we don't have. You have to go to Yosemite to get it that high. You know, there's. But how the potatoes were just, and the corn was just mind blowing, you know, for me. Like having the corn down in Lima was just so different,
right,
to anything we have. And it was very eye opening for everyone. The pairings, how they did the, you know, a lot of juices mixed in with natural ferments, and you know, mixed in with wine, like
right.
To have a pairing that wasn't all wine but also had juice, like it's just very interesting.
I think. Do you think that the American kind of fine dining cuisine has limits on it, restrictions? Because I do, like, say you wanted to put one of those, you know, juice concoctions on the menu as a pairing. I think you'd get a lot of people up here that are like, well, I paid for a wine pairing.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you change that? Yeah. How do you do food that's from another place here?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think, you know, I know this was brought up a couple of years ago, and about tasting menus, where, you know, I think it was actually Bonjoing maybe that posted about it many years ago. Was, you know, all tasting menus started being the same, right? You have the snacks or canapes, then you have the foie, and you have the fish course, and you have the caviar course, then you have the lamb beef.
Bread plated course.
Yeah.
The plated bread course, 3 or 4 in.
And, you know, that made me think a lot too, you know, and, you know, we've changed a lot of things here, and now we do a lot of small bites. But then, you know, this year I was really lucky to eat at Noma in November. And literally the first course was, you know, the guinea hen. Like, there was no bites or snacks. Literally the first course was just parts of the guinea hen. Like, there was like 5 or 6 dishes, all, you know, and that was
That's legit.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I like that. Just starting intensely like that.
It was just right off the bat, full steam ahead. And it was seriously another amazing meal. And I was super lucky to get to go, and you know, the chef was kind enough to come out and say a couple words, and it was great, you know, and it was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, these places get a lot of flack, I think. Right now, it's like the cool thing to hate on those kinds of places. But they defined an era. They defined where we're going in the future. And so, you know, they got the respect from everyone that's a true chef, you know, in the game, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, along with people in their flack and stuff like that, I mean, you know, I remember one time we were in, you know, this ranking or whatever, you know, and one of the local papers reached out to me, and they're like, well, no one, you know, that's not, you know, no one really cares about that. I said, well, that's, you know, everyone talks shit about it because everyone wants to be in it.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm at. Like, anybody that hates on a Best Chef or James Beard Award or Michelin, you either have them and you're over it, or you never got them and you're pissed off that you don't have them.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's okay to say, as a chef, I want Michelin stars.
Yeah,
it's okay to set that goal. It's okay to do everything in your power to achieve that goal.
I mean, our travel business here in 2019 went up 20%. You know,
solely based on the Michelin star.
Michelin, yeah.
Right. It
Because
puts asses in the seats.
Everyone travels. You know,
Right.
They travel based on the guidebook. I did when I was a kid.
Right.
You know, or not a kid, but in my teen or late 20s, whatever that is. You know, I definitely looked at Michelin guides or Les Chateaux books and went around to those places. You know, I mean, still, like when I travel, I look at the world's 50 best list. I look at the, and, you know, and see what. I mean, unless you know people personally, I mean, that's the easiest way of finding things.
Right, for sure, for sure. Eater's a good one too for more of a mix of things.
Yeah, I look at all of those. I mean, it's, you know, and people do, and that's why we started having a lot more people from, you know, from European countries come and eat here because of Michelin. You know, so it's definitely been great for us.
Yeah,
and
if you're seeing those results on the bottom line, and there's very few things that do that.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, you can get 5 stars in the Chronicle or whatever it is, and you'll have a little bit of a surge, but Michelin is worldwide.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
now,
like,
you know, now that they're growing a lot, you know, but we want to keep moving up, of course.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
You know, we make those financial commitments too. You know, we've added more staff, you know, because we want to improve. And I mean, we're trying to cook our very unique style here and continue that process. And not do the cookie cutter approach. You know, I think all our food here is very unique. You know, our team works really hard. You know, we work really hard, and the vision stayed sort of the same. We really haven't changed much. You know, it's like we know that we have a very strong team here, and we'll just continue to try to cook for people and have a great experience.
Right.
So that's at the end of the day, that's all we're doing. We're just cooking dinner for people.
Right. Right. Can't take ourselves too seriously, but also take it so seriously at the same time.
So we still try to have fun, you know, and you know, and keep it real. It's
for sure. Does Michelin call you before you get the nomination or whatever? They don't let you know.
No.
You just find out one day.
Oh, I mean, you get an email saying, you know, that you're back in the guide or.
Right. Yeah. And then, do you have any banter with them afterwards?
No, not anymore.
Gotcha.
I think they changed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they used to like reach out and talk to the chef a lot.
Yeah.
And almost like groom you, I feel like, to be that person for them or whatever, right? Because you got to like uphold an image too. You can't just.
Yeah, I mean, I think, feedback was always very helpful from them because, you know, it's just, you know, and, you know, we do 8,000 covers here. I mean, you know, we're a 9-table restaurant now. It's a lot, you know, it's, you know, and, you know, we get one chance to, and you know, to impress somebody. And sure, of course, everyone can have an off night or, you know, or, you know, we seat outdoors too, you know, so we seat indoors, outdoors, you know, we're in a hotel, you know, there's people walking back from the beach and we're trying to serve, you know, it's
right. It's just the,
you know, so we've had lots of challenges, you know, there's, you know, but people love eating outdoors because we have a private courtyard upstairs, you know, but it's also, you know, a hotel was built in 1929, so the windows are thin, you know, and, you know, it's just all part of our experience and the stuff that we deal with too. You know, if we were in a standalone restaurant, you know, with, you know, one dining room that was all on the same level, you know, then when you know, we didn't have those challenges we face every night. Also, besides cooking for very high demanding guests, you know, who knows? That's why it's stressful here sometimes, you know, because, you know, we're in a hotel,
right?
So, and then, you know, it's funny. We always laugh about it. It's like we can get one room service order and that can just change the. Yeah,
I mean, it's pretty crazy. Yeah. How do you separate restaurant from room service?
We don't do a whole lot of room service,
right.
You know, but you know, we just everyone just bands together and makes something, you know. But some, you know, it's like someone have to cut some French fries, you know. I mean, that's all part of the challenge, you know. And but yeah, it's fun.
Hell yeah. Because I always wondered like how you keep the Michelin standard for breakfast.
Well, that's,
you know, like how do you think about plateware for breakfast? Is that like are you getting in the minutia as much as you do for dinner?
Well, that's the thing. So, going through the whole Forbes process, the restaurant won 5 stars and the hotel was at 4 for a number of years.
Right.
And so the restaurant for dinner was judged separately than breakfast and
Really?
service. Yeah.
Okay, Forbes.
Yeah.
And how does that roll? Do they send people here? Do you know they're here, or is it like Michelin? You don't know they're here.
No, you don't technically know they're here. They do. Forbes lets you know when they leave that they were an inspector, and then
like right at the end of the dinner.
No, right when they check out. Or
okay, got it.
Or at the end of the dinner, they do tell you that they're an inspector. And Forbes was, we're still a member. I mean, we won 5 stars this year for the restaurant, which is great, because they have a lot of specific guidelines that, we've changed some things. Like we don't technically offer cheese plate anymore, which is one thing, so you lose a point.
Oh, really?
Because we found out that offering a cheese plate during our dinner service added a half an hour, so to someone's experience where we would be late for the second seat. You know what I mean? So
right.
These were decisions based on our model. So, we always have cheese if people want cheese.
Right.
We have 9. In the dining room right now, it was 5 tables. 5 tables in the dining room, and then we seat 3 in the salon, and when the weather is bad, and then we'll go to the courtyard. So we have 11 total tables. Mm-hmm. So these tables are such valuable real estate. Like and someone comes in for the reservation at 8. They want the reservation at 8. They don't want to say,
we have to put cheese on because the Forbes are going to take a point away.
You wait another half an hour for my table. It's like the Seinfeld. Have you ever seen the Seinfeld episode when he goes to the car rental place and he has his reservation for the car, and they're like, we don't have it. He's like, but I have a reservation.
The reservations almost like don't mean anything anymore at certain places now. It's crazy. Only at restaurants I feel like still hold true. Yeah. But there's some places you make reservations and they'll make you wait an hour.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck's going on here? Yeah. DMV's included.
Yeah,
God damn it. I'm like, don't tell me to make a appointment because it's going to be shorter time, and then I just get here and it's a longer time.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to do.
No,
you're Relais Chateau here too, right?
Correct.
What do they inspect? How do you get Relais Chateau?
Relais Chateau is a worldwide hotel and restaurant organization that's very food focused, which is great. They have a lot of basically their motto is they're very focused on food and the experience. Mm-hmm. It's a very it's a great organization. There's tons of amazing places worldwide. Their inspections are very serious. Like they really go into it. They take pictures of every single thing, every dent, every scratch.
Really?
Yeah. So it's hard because
so they're looking at the details of the room.
They're looking at the details of the room.
On top of the food, on top of the
whole experience. And a lot of great relays around the world have beautiful gardens, or they're on the ocean, or a game preserve, or they're
right.
These 200-acre properties in Montana, whatever. Mm-hmm. And we don't have a great we're 6 blocks from the ocean, but we really have to bump up our level of service or experience to make to fall into that category, I think.
Is it the same with them, where they tell you whether or not they're coming in the building, or do they inspect like that?
They don't tell you.
Okay, but they are inspecting. They're coming through. They're staying in the rooms.
They're staying in the rooms. They're trying they're trying the dinner. Right. Sometimes you can figure out if you see some random guy in the courtyard taking pictures of everything on his phone.
Right. You're like,
Yeah.
Can you ask them? Can they say, are you Relais? No.
Yeah.
I'm not.
It's really just trick them and say, how's the new conference going?
Right.
You usually don't know, and then they send very detailed reports. And
you're part of the organization, no?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and
do they ask you to go to places and inspect, or like what does your position entail with them? Like, what do you?
No, I mean I've known a lot of the people now for 10 plus years.
Right.
And we've done a lot of collaboration chef events, which has been a big bonus from being part of the organization. And people expect a certain level of quality when they look for Relais Chateaus, I think.
Definitely.
You know,
It's another marker, you know, like when they have Michelin and Relais Chateau, you're like, oh, fuck. It's like this.
No, I mean, but they also, we have a lot of wear and tear here, so it's constantly trying to keep up on everything,
Right.
And that's a thing where, we have to, it's a big financial commitment, I think, for everything. And it's easy to.
I've heard that you had to have a certain thread count even on your sheets. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely.
It is
they
true.
inspect everything.
Right. Do you have a sort of like a rubric that you know of or that you can reference?
They have a lot of partners.
Okay.
So, they specific partners for the rooms but we're always trying to improve. Like, they also have some very good ideas and, like if 10 years ago, just having a coffee station room was sort of a luxury thing, right? I mean, what is luxury, but that's another whole conversation. But, where you have free, Nespresso, or you have all these little wine glasses and wine keys. But now it's like, what, that's sort of like common now. So now what's the next level of that? Is it just unlimited free drinks? Is it some sort of snacks that are handmade? I mean, we offer snacks in the rooms. We make stuff too, and pastry makes a bunch of different cookies and stuff every night. But we really think about to keep having guests come back every year and stay here. Also, what else can we do? Because the room can't really change unless we refresh it. But what else can we do to make an experience more memorable? And we made these like running maps of my favorite running trails. Like a local artist drew all this stuff.
Okay.
And I have like this big blonde curly hair, and
you're very sculpture. I could see if they had like a chef sculptures, you'd be one of them.
Nice.
There's a lot of plain looking chefs out there.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
No, it's funny. What else can we do?
Yeah.
It's funny. I remember. So for the first, when I went down my crazy like triathlon running phase, I shaved my head all the time just because, I thought it was like, I just needed to, and I didn't want to pay $40 for a haircut. And I was like, it's just so much easier just to cut my own hair. And I grew it out, and then that's all people talked about for like 2 years.
Right.
But it was funny. It's like.
I mean, that's what comes up when you say your name.
Yeah.
Oh, the hair, the runner, the hair, the runner. How does he keep it so nice? Well, he is by the ocean.
Yeah, it's
the salinity in the air that keeps it like that.
Yeah, the salinity is huge. It's so great.
I bet. Everyone's looking vibrant down here.
Yeah, we had an old GM that worked here. His name was Ramon, and he used to like reach out to like hair gel companies and like, can't you send this guy some product?
Hey, that works, man. And get the sponsorship wherever. You got Costa was sponsored by fucking Lexus. I was like, you got to just reach out. These places got all this money just waiting in a bank account to give to somebody.
Yeah, I love Costa. He's great.
What's with the AAA awards? They give you like the AAA 4 Diamond or whatever it is. Yeah. Is that the same sort of thing as Relais Chateau, as Michelin, where they have a rubric, they're coming in grading you? Do you care about that as much?
I mean, I think to be in any book or inspected by anyone always helps. I mean, right. We had a AAA inspector here that she ate and dined and then said we were 5 diamonds or whatever, and then
right.
I was like, I don't know, or maybe she was just some random. I don't know.
5 diamonds. What does the diamonds mean? I know what the Michelin Stars mean, but nobody's ever spelled out the rubric of what a diamond is. And maybe AAA should do that, so we care more.
I think my parents still use AAA discount.
Right.
There's certain.
AAA discount,
right.
Chef. I've had AAA for 10 years. I never used one discount. I don't even know about that. I just use it as an easier way to go to the DMV, basically. That's what they are now. Crazy. So is this your forever home, or would you ever leave Carmel?
I don't envision myself leaving here. No.
Okay, this is where you're living.
Yeah, it's hard to. I think wherever you travel, been lucky to travel some cool places. I think it's always great to come home, and it's like you're driving back from the city, or it's just. I just love the trails here. I love the people. There's a lot of great friends over the last couple of years, and and it's great to have people come back here. Because it's not, like you were talking about, 2 hours. We don't have a lot of traffic here, right? I mean, it's not, you know, if we get stuck in like 15 minutes of traffic, everyone's like, this is terrible. You know? But I mean, I think just like driving down to LA or, you know, and experiencing like what other people have to deal with, like the same thing with the weather. You know, it's always nice here. I remember my first day here, I just rolled in, you know, in my little, little car packed full of stuff. And, you know, I walked down the beach and it was like 55. It was like January 10th.
Yeah.
And everyone was like in triple goose down North Face jackets. And
down to their feet.
I was like, where am I?
I was like, what's happening here?
But now I'm like one of those people, you know, I feel like I need my goose down if it's like 50 out.
Well, I always said this because I grew up in Connecticut. A California 50 is a Connecticut 30.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what it is, but like the breeze here is just a little bit more piercing and cool, like tickles you a little bit. You're like, ugh. But I mean, I remember being in high school and walking to school, you know, 20-degree weather with a hoodie on and nothing else. And it's like, so part of me thinks I'm soft, but then the other part of me is like, is that way here in California, you know? Because I remember my next door neighbor used to wear shorts in the winter, like snowing, wearing shorts and shoveling. I'm like, he's one of those guys. My legs don't get cold. I'm like, what the fuck?
No, it's just, you know, and with the recent snowstorms, and, you know, I love going to Yosemite. It's another big bonus of living here. You know, you can be in the mountains basically be at the beach and then run to, you know, really high elevation within, you know, 6 hours. You can be in the middle of Yosemite and the most beautiful place. You know, it's so beautiful there, and I love escaping there, and especially in the summer and running up there is crazy.
Is that how you sort of keep yourself invigorated and inspired?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and then just with the traveling too, and you know, try to do a chef event, you know, 1 or 2 a year where, you know, get out and see, you know, because it's easy to get caught in, you know, because you don't ever want to get into a robot sensibility where we're just cooking every day the same thing over and over again. You come awake, you come here, there. You know, it's always great to get out, and even if you don't want to, it's great to like make things happen. You know, we're doing an event in Taipei this year, and I'm super excited to take some new people to Taiwan. You know,
where are you going in Taipei?
A chef dinner. We're doing a little dinner, and we're basically doing lunch and dinner for 3 days. And
cool. What chef? Where are you going?
It's a Relais Chateau property.
Oh, got it. Got it. I've always liked the Relais Chateau business. Yeah. I always wondered if, because I'm chefing at OpenAI now, and I was, you know, they're always like, what can we do to make it better? And I'm like, what if we made this a Relais Chateau property, but we were a tech company? You know, like that'd be dope. Yeah. Have that like the best of both worlds sort of thing.
Yeah. Cool. No, well, there's a ton of possibility. I mean, that's what's great about this world. It's like
definitely. All the there's a lot of intersections.
Yeah.
A lot of things. You know, one of the things as a chef that is important to us is putting out talent into the world. And you put out one of the greatest talents of this time, Chef Key, over at Bar Maze.
Yeah.
When did he first start here?
He started, you know, it's funny. My memory is just, it all jumps together.
Yeah.
But it's funny. You know, I was looking at pictures the other night, you know, and you look back and like he was like a kid.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
He looked like he was like 7.
Right.
You know, and, you know, and that was a weird time in the restaurant too, where, you know, where he started, we had, you know, the direction was sort of not laid out specifically. Like we weren't not necessarily growing the way I wanted to grow. You know, it was like we were challenged by, you know, if it was financial or what were the covers. You know, we're in a space where we just hadn't really hit that next level yet.
Right.
You know, and he was great. You know, he worked really hard. You know, and the whole team there was working really hard, and we were just trying to get somewhere. You know, and we had a great product, we had great food, and that's when we started getting the plates, and that was when we started getting these things going on and started building the experience. And then as, you know, we got more recognition, it was easier to make changes, you know, and not listen to jazz music at dinner because it doesn't do anything with our food, or not, you know, and sort of design the dining room the way I wanted it designed. You know, that took a long time to achieve that, you know. So yeah, he spent 6 years here. You know, and was a CDC here, and you know, had a lot of great influence on the menu, and you know, it was great.
And when he decided to go, did you already kind of see it in the coming, or was it just like, where are you going?
No, I mean, I think he wanted to keep moving up. You know, people, you know, eventually want to be a chef and be in charge of a group. And you know, everyone. There's a lot of people in the kitchen right now that could easily just take over a restaurant. You know, I think, you know, it's great to have a lot of talent. You know, and people work really hard. You know, they also want to see us evolve here. You know, I think you know how you know, you work for someone and you see, you know, I'm here all the time. You know, I'm here every day. You know, I love, you know, the way I was brought up is like, you know, I try to do, you know, I try not to take out the garbage every day, you know, but it's something that's still ingrained in my head. Like, I feel like, you know, that's what I learned at Trotter's. Like, there was no job too big or too small, you know,
right.
And I know a lot of the chefs are like that. You know, I did an event with Chris Constantino a couple years ago, and, you know, we were talking about just work. You know, and I was up in Healdsburg, or Napa, his other property at the time. And we were like, you know, he was like taking out the recycling. You know, I'm like, you know, it's the same thing. You know, the boxes weren't fit in, or someone just left them on the side. You know, and he's like, this is what I deal with sometimes. You know, I'm like, that's great.
It's okay. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's just what it always will be. Yeah. You know, that's why I was telling Tiffany. Shout out to Tiffany. She made this happen.
Yeah.
That sometimes I forgot my train of thought right there. I looked into the camera and I was like, Sony.
Damn, you're good looking. Is that what you said?
I'm like, well, I can't see myself, but I know that I'm killing it.
Yeah.
I was telling her that, you know, I'm an executive chef now, and it's like, sometimes as a cook, you think that that's where you need to go, or you need to be a chef owner, right? But it's not always like when you get there, you're like, oh, like I never wanted to worry about the light bill.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a problem that I want to have, but that's a chef owner job. That's an executive chef thing, right? But being CDC, I think, is a very important position that almost lost its importance with that new thinking that you have to own your own restaurant for it to matter that you're the CDC. Yeah. You know, and if you're the CDC only, like, oh, they don't own their own place. They must not know how to do whatever. But I think I was happiest when I was at that level, because you're not worried about, you know, taxes, right? Yeah. And it takes away from your creativity sometimes when you're stressed out about that kind of thing, like when you didn't do enough covers or you're whatever.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very expensive place to run. You know.
Yeah,
it's like,
definitely.
There's a lot of I do a lot of like admin work now, because there's this, and we're involved in another hotel down the street too. You know, it's like, it's stressful. I mean, because if you don't make these numbers, like, you know, it's like light bills and garbage bills and trash, and there's just so much. You know,
that costs a lot of money.
A lot.
Trash and like everything. And you're like, wow. It really opens up. I think everyone should do an executive chef job before going back to whatever you wanted to do, you know. But I think sometimes you get caught in the narrative of the world. And I think the narrative of the world right now is own your own business. If you don't own your own business, you're a piece of shit. Like, you'll never make it. You know, you'll never be able to do what you want. But I think that there's certain people in this game that are sort of like anti that. You know, when you look at Rogelio up at fucking the Four Seasons up there, like, he doesn't own the building. You don't own 100% of this, right? But you're here, and you're an important part of the ecosystem of this place.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think we look down at being an employee, you know, and that's the kind of the worst name of that kind of thing. Like, you're you're definitely part of a family when you're at a restaurant. And I know that that's also another topic of discussion because people are like, we're a family, but we're going to treat you like shit, you know? And so it doesn't fit. But I think as we go on here in this world, that the message to young cooks is if you want to be a lifelong butcher, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's a craft in itself.
Well, look at Japan.
You know? Yeah.
That's
I just think it's our culture always to like, what's next? What's next? What's next? Yeah. And then you find yourself in the what's next, and you're like, this kind of sucks. You know, he's like, you didn't foresee the problems with it, right? You only looked at what the good stuff that comes with it is. And that's what you sort of fail to realize when you're just like moving up in the ladder. So that's why you do have to do things like run, travel, you know, to get yourself out of it and be like, what is truly important? Why am I doing these things? You know? So aside from trips and things like that, how else do you find yourself inspiring your staff?
You know, just trying to be present and, you know, show them that, you know, obviously, like we talked about, people give up a lot to work, you know, that, you know, spend 10 hours here a day or 9 hours, whatever it is, you know, some days, you know, Sunday, you know, night, you know, and then, you know, we're closed Monday, Tuesdays, you know, we'll do little side trips or, you know, visit different farms. You know, the people like to spend time, you know, some people like to do their own thing, of course. You know,
of course.
Absolutely. Everyone's is needed, but we do spend a lot of time, you know, with the people that work here. We're in a 20 by 20 foot box. You know, we spend, you know, more time with these people than we do like our own families, you know, and so that's why, you know, and try to empower them to be creative too. I mean, some of those new, you know, opening courses we have are been inspired from our trip to Peru, you know, and, you know, one of the new cooks, you know, we were at restaurants and he was taking notes, you know, Nate's a killer, you know, he's writing down everything, you know, and came back and came up with this new little snack that's killer, you know, and it was all based off the trip. And to be able to put that on the menu and have that as one of the opening bites, I think that's also great.
Right.
You know,
yeah, it used to be back in the day, it was just like the chef's world to be creative with the menu and you just do. Yeah. I think the collaborative effort is what really sets a place apart.
Well, it has to be because, you know, I've always wanted to have people that, you know, or hire people, you know, that have information, you know, can offer something. I mean, you know, I've always thought like that. It's, you know.
Is that how you hire? Is that one of the things that you use as a hiring marker? So when they come in, like.
It can depend. I mean, especially now with the way that our menu works. I mean, it's funny. We have, and I was just up. I was talking to Philip Tessier, you know, but a press the other night about this, and you know, he needs to hire a pastry chef or something, right?
Right.
And like like one of our new pastry cooks is from Baskin Robbins, right? That's where she works. But she's great with, you know, and now she's working here full time, like
right.
But she has like, you know, she can do things with ice cream that you wouldn't think like years ago you'd have to work at like, you know, you'd have to have 19 things on your resume,
right?
You know, to even get a foot in the door, you know. And now it's just you just have to have some passion and show up for work, you know, and like
right, you
know, and show an interest.
And I don't know if that's like it's a good thing, but definitely looking at it, you're like, is that because the workforce sucks so much that's where we're at. We're like, we don't even care about your experience. Like the fact that you show up on time. I think I heard somebody say that the other day at work. I'm like, yeah, but they show up on time. And I'm like, that's it.
I've heard that a lot. I mean, a lot of that, she's a great girl, by the way.
Yeah.
But no, I've heard that a lot since COVID. Like COVID changed everything for here too, you know, especially with having the hotel and hotel employees.
Right.
You know, where everyone was at home for so long, I think that definitely hurt, you know, people showing up. Yeah. Absolutely.
The mentality of it, for sure.
Because they're like, why?
I mean, yeah, you were just like waking up, doing whatever you wanted, watching TV all day, can't go out. Like the first excuse to not go anywhere, you know, it's like, that was amazing time. Yeah. For the first 2 weeks of that, I definitely didn't do anything. Yeah. And I got out of bed one day, I was like, if I don't start doing something, I'm going to go down mentally, and I'm not going to be able to lead my team. Yeah. And so we stayed working or whatever. But when we came back, all the people who just rested, they were nowhere near mentally fit enough to be in the kitchen again. No. Suddenly problems that they could have taken care of easily were like huge disasters. Yeah. And I was like, what's going on here? And then after a while it hit me like, oh yeah, you weren't mentally flexing. You weren't using your brain every day for different things, especially being a cook. I think you benefit from cooking on the line afterwards, not during, you know, because sometimes you're like, that's fucking crazy. The fact that I thought about 80 different things and then they came out right, that's nuts. But then afterwards you're like, oh, why am I so good at this? And you're like, oh, it's because I can line cook. Yeah. 'Cause you can like kind of turn off the thinking and just go into monkey mode and just, you know what I mean? Just get it done. So it's a crazy mentality.
No, I remember that first night or first day that we were all, when we shut down here, you know, and then, you know, I like, you know, think about staff meal at 3:30, you know, and like the whole system was off. And then we started going to bed earlier and then wake up and like it was all like, everything just changed, right?
Yeah.
And then I started, you know, coming in here and doing to-go food. And for a while, maybe 2 months, I did it by myself, you know, and, you know, I was making like stir fry kits with bell peppers, and you know, I was like, let's just try to do anything, you know. And then we had a nice little to-go operation that set up here, and you know, I never cut so many bell peppers in my life, like just for stir fry, you know. And then we started making lobster rolls, and we didn't do a whole lot of to-go business. Not like some places that just like Canada that just killed it, you know, whatever. But I mean, half the people didn't even live here. It was like a ghost town. Yeah. You know, but I remember making like 70 lobster rolls one day, you know, and sold them. And then, you know, I put a picture on social media, and like Rene Rizipi sent me a message. He's like, you know, is that working for you? Like, how many did you make? Like, and he was asking all these questions. I was like, it was so, you know, it was cool. And I just told him that too. I mean, it was just funny, you know. It was like, you know, because everyone's just trying to figure out what to do. Yeah, I think we all underestimated to-go food. Yeah, I think definitely we were like, yeah, we'll just crush this, no problem. Yeah. And then it's like the cost associated with it alone. And then just to put out something that was good, you know, like does it travel well? Yeah. How does it look when, you know, I know what it looked like here, but how does it look like 20 minutes when they open it? Yeah. Oh. Then you got the people that are like, I got home and it was cold. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, we put it in the car for 6 hours and it wasn't good after. It's like, yeah, no fucking shit, you know? No, I did have one humbling day where, you know, we made like a, I don't know, eggplant lasagna or something, you know, and obviously it was, our model was that, you know, you took it home and you finished it in the oven, like just to warm it up, but they, you know, so obviously it wasn't all the way done. Right. Because it needed to cook, like the instructions in the website and the form that you filled out all clearly said. But they took it to the beach and ate it, you know. They're like, this is raw. Yeah. You guys are horrible. And you're like, no. I ruined your anniversary. You know, you're horrible. Don't you love those emails are like, thanks for ruining my anniversary? You know, I'm like, well. Right. I'm sorry. They got to blame it on somebody, you know. Yeah. Did the best, you know, I could, you know. Right. Hey. That's all that matters, Chef. We were just trying to get packaging. The packaging was so crazy, and then you see like 11 Madison Park had like the most beautiful thing. And they're like, right. You're like, how much did that fucking cost? Because one of these to-go containers out here, the plastic ones, they cost 45 cents each. Like you can't, you know, some places just don't have the thing for it. Yeah. It was a good way of survival. You know, I learned a lot about to-go food. So. Yeah. Now I can open to-go restaurants now if I wanted, for sure. After that, might be. Especially cooking in an empty place. That was the weirdest part for me, especially Charter-Oak. It was huge, and it's just empty. Yeah, it's crazy. But you know what we were doing? We were using a leaf blower to crank the hearth fire. Yeah, nice. So that was pretty dope because it was blowing ash everywhere. So we wouldn't be able to do it if there was people in the house. No. But I love that thing. That thing is the shit. I learned that from. It was a chef that came to 12 Days and used a hair dryer to do the embers, and I was like, oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. But instead of the fan for 3. Exactly. So, Chef, if you got any knowledge for these young cooks out here, one thing that you would just give them to give them a little flick into the ether of a chefdom. I think, you know, for me, it's always just showing an interest. You know, and not so much about food, but just I always love when people talk to me about like their goals and aspirations, and it's always huge to have people that have goals, like just some sort of goal, if it's a 5-10 year goal or whatever. People that show interest and say, I want to open my own place in 10 years. Amazing, but these are the tools I need to get there. Can you help me with that?
Right.
Or just people that have, a little bit of like, what do they like to do on their days off, or if they like to go foraging or running or picking or play basketball, anything like that. Always look for people that have sort of a second love, like something else they like to do.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. It just really helps instead of just just here to work forever. It's just
right.
It's not.
They also I also find that you have to put parameters on your mentorship with your cooks, because I think there's some people that want everything from you.
Yeah. And
it's just not feasible. It's not sustainable for you, and it's not sustainable for them, because no matter how you dice it, there's going to be ones where you can't do it or whatever it is, and they're going to feel really bad about that. It's like there's a lot of people, especially from like 10 years ago, that are like, screw my mentors or whatever it is. But I'm like, if you expected that person to be your everything, of course they're going to let you down. Like, a chef wakes up in the morning, if he's got a wife and kids, that's like the 4 people before they even wake up. Now they got like 8 other people before you even step in the door. Yeah. And it's like, I think that's the relationship that we need to fix. It's the mentee expectation of the mentor. Sure. Like, a mentor is still a human being. There's only so much bandwidth they have. Yeah. Bandwidth. I'm learning that from the corporate sector.
No, I think it's important, and something, because we are all busy. We have busy days and not, and it's easy to get distracted. But it's great to talk to people. Even if it's 15 minutes, individually. But I feel a great responsibility to a lot of people that work here. Because they've, I always have. Mm-hmm. And I'm proud of some of the stuff that we've accomplished, not just in the culinary world, but also, like, with one of our cooks getting his first passport. We were going to Mexico City, and he didn't have it, and I'm like, all right, we're going right now to get your picture taken.
Right.
And
big step.
Yeah, and to get that done, and and then the camera was broken, so like, we're going to the other place. We're getting this done today. You're going on this trip. You're going to drive to San Francisco tomorrow and wait in line and get it. Don't give up this opportunity. Right. And that was a great moment for me too. It's just like, just to see that happen, and then or just like with Alec, who's been here almost 8 years. Is his first airplane trip was to Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. I think, but I mean, a 16-hour flight. It's no joke.
That is no joke. Yeah. Straight up. If I'm going over there, I'm going on one of those planes that's got the bed.
Have you seen the
bed? The bed. I mean, you look on United flights now, and they got the sit flat down or whatever it is in the front in the first class. Yeah. Making it a goal that when I travel, I only travel first class. I'm not there yet, but we're getting there.
I fall asleep wherever.
It doesn't matter. Chef's in the luggage. But Chef, thank you so much for doing this. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Now, I got to say, too, and I told the guys last night about this at the pre-service meeting, is when we did the 12 days with Trevor, mm-hmm. and you were, I think you were Sue, or, mm-hmm. I'm sure a very intense environment. Mm-hmm. I felt that we just, we had like a good sense of humor. We just got along.
We did, yeah. We got along really well.
And that was really cool.
Yeah. I definitely take that, too, from there. And I'm like, one of the nicest people I've ever met at any 12 days. Yeah. Because 12 days that's a grab bag of emotions and jet lag. I can't imagine. Fucking, some people get there from fucking Copenhagen. They're like, all right, tomorrow, 4 a.m. Yeah. And you're like, damn, I've been doing this there's been 6 other chefs before you that all required us to be here at 4 a.m., So you're just like burning the candle at both ends. But then again, every day is like game 7. So you're like, the attention and focus needs to be there. And that's one of the hardest events I've ever done.
Yeah. Do you have one crazy story from that? Or
yeah, sure. The Franks from New York.
Okay.
The Franks, Frankie Spuntino's, they're like Italians.
Yeah.
They have the 457 olive oil at Whole Foods. It's a big green bottle.
Okay.
So they're there, and 2 stories. The craziest fucking tomato sauce I've ever seen made was by these guys. Number 10 of crust aromas, and fucking like 7 trays of uni.
Okay.
Cold. Whisk in the bowl, done. That's the sauce. Like, we didn't do shit. And then all they were doing was like basically mounting some hot pasta with it. That's it. That's the sauce. Most delicious sauce I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
But they wanted to do this thing that they do in Italy where they toast pine cones for the aroma.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're doing this. We're like toasting the pine cones. So I got them in the Jasper, and they're all ready to go. They're like smoky, toasty, whatever. We put them on the plates. There's some pine underneath them, and then the Franks, one of them is like, "We need more smoke." So he takes a torch and hits them all, right? And they're all smoking, right? The servers come and they're supposed to bring them out to all the tables, lay them down in the middle for the aroma of Christmas during fucking in Italy. And they take them out, and then all of a sudden, once they put them all on the table, they all burst into flames. So they all burst into flames. There's a huge smoke cloud in the whole restaurant. And finally, they're like, clear them, clear them, clear them. So the cooks had to run over to the sink and fill up 22s with water, and we ran outside. And so the servers had to go pick up the plate that was on fire, walk it out elegantly, and like pass the kitchen to the outside and dump the pine cones in the water. And so there was just the smokiest service. And then Costa was just like literally fuming, right? And like you look over and the Franks are like, this is the 12 days of fucking Christmas right here. And I was like, it was insanity. Not to mention the first day I was at Meadowood, I walked to the back door and I got the stage. He like let me stay. And I look over and David Kinch is just like nonchalantly hashing the biggest thing of truffles, black truffles I've ever seen. And now knowing price of it, it's like, I'm like, this is literally $5,000 worth of truffles that he was just like haphazardly hashing. There was no like, going at it or like doing a little bit first course so you can get it off. He was just like big chunks, just like in half. And I'm like, this is the epitome of luxury right here. And I think it's a cool event that more chefs should do. If anything, I think it's one of the first guest chef series that took it seriously and did it year after year, to the point where once it ended, they had to start booking flights right after and start booking chefs and whatever it is. And so that's part of the reason why I admired Costau and that restaurant, was because we never stopped.
Yeah.
We never stopped to celebrate any wins, really. Yeah. It was like, oh yeah, we got Michelin again. Great. We can move on. Let's go. Yeah. We're not good enough yet. We're still not good enough. And that pursuit of perfection, even though things at some points were perfect, was the biggest lesson for me.
Nice.
And so.
Yeah, I mean, the event, we all looked up to it, of course. It was awesome.
I mean, I think someone's got to do it. Constantino tried. He did like the 6 days of Christmas or something. I'm like, that's too close to home. You got to, I think we need 12 days of Thanksgiving or something. Yeah. Try to see how many ways we can doctor up some turkey, Well, shout out to all the cooks out there. I hope this was very informative. Chef Justin Cogley out here at Aubergine. What's the address here?
It's Monte Verde at 7th.
Okay, got you. And then where can they find some information about you? I think you have a website, don't you know?
Yeah, just
JustinCogley.com, baby. Yeah. Cogley or Cogley?
Cogley.
Okay, got you. And are you still, you're sponsored by some shoe companies, correct?
Not anymore.
Not anymore?
No.
Tell those fools they made a mistake.
It's okay.
All right. It's okay.
No, I had my good run of shoes.
Yeah.
This is great.
It's all good, Chef.
It's all good.
It's all good. You can see Chef out here trail running if you have the balls to match his. And then other than that, you can catch him at the restaurant. Shout out to Tiffany DeGeorge for getting this together.
Yeah,
come eat down here. And peace out, chefs. I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Hell yeah. It's on wax.
Nice.
Woo!
Yeah. This tree is 700 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn. Do you have other tables made from this same tree? 700 years old.
Yeah.
Where'd they find it?
There's a redwood that fell in Big Sur at the Big Sur Library.
Yeah.
And we bought it during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And we got this down here with 3 people through like this crazy like.
Yeah, I bet it was
the woodworking guy is crazy. He's awesome.
Very cool. Yeah, this is where everybody's going now. You know what? I just saw. There's this place on Treasure Island that's actually a restaurant, like supply place, and they had bowling alley lanes that were like taken out or whatever. So, and then she was like, "Yeah, you can turn those into tables." I'm like, "That'd be dope to have like a really long restaurant and do bowling alley tables. Yeah, communal bowling alley tables. Sit like 80. You know,
That'd be cool.
You guys in service tonight?